Hey everybody. So today I'm going to talk about the IPV4. I want to thank Kyle at Magic Dragon Vapes down here in Florida um, for tossing me one of the IPV4s to play with, review. So the IPV4 is advertised as a 100-watt box mod with temperature control. That's number one. Temperature control is what this technology is known as, I guess, on the streets, but that's a bad name. It's a temperature limiting technology. Um, won't get super deep into that, but basically, it drops your wattage when it senses that your coil is reaching a certain temperature that you determine, right? So it drops the wattage so you don't go above that temperature or close. A good portion of this video, you'll see me using a Kanger Subtank Mini with this really cool blue swirl acrylic tank on it. That is from Sick Vapor Company. Really cool tank. I am using a nickel Kanger coil in this, so it just made sense to kind of talk about that cool tank that you'll see me use. And we'll get this review started. Now, there's two main, I guess, main settings or ways to use this device. It's going to be in a standard power mode, which will be, your atomizers with Canthal or Nichrome, more standard builds. You're going to use it in power mode. You're going to recognize the wattage as your settings, right? You probably are very familiar with that setting. When you want to use this in temperature control mode, first of all, you need to be using Ni200 wire or a pre-built Ni200 coil. Yes, there is some talk of titanium wire. I will refer you to Mr. Phil Basardo. I think he is doing some in-depth testing on that. I defer to him on that one. So the IPV4 comes in a decent little box. You might be familiar with past IPV versions. I have not owned an IPV device. So you got your box, little kind of information instruction manual explaining settings, features, and screen details, little warranty card, and also down underneath you've got a micro USB cord, charging cable, connection cable, data cable. Keep that in mind. I'm going to stop for a second. While on the topic of this USB charging / data cable that comes with this device, my experience and my personal preference is I do not use micro USB cords, cables to charge a device if I can swap out batteries on my own. If it is a device with a built-in battery and that is the only way to recharge it, that's fine. I will utilize that. Personally, I do not do it. One of the last things I would ever do is plug up a USB to something like this, a dual 18650 device, and let it charge and leave the house or leave it unattended. I'm sort of paranoid. That's just not something I do. When the batteries need recharging in my IPV4, I take off this, I take these batteries out, and I put them on a charger. That's how I roll. If I were to plug this in and recharge it, I most certainly wouldn't vape it using it as a pass-through device. Just not something I'm comfortable with. I don't have any data or science to back up my hesitation to do that. That's just how I vape. Want to put that out there. One of the other things is that this comes with a different type thing, right? You see that? This is very similar to what I would charge a camcorder with. I would never use this either. I would never use it. I don't want to add to the urban legends, but early on when the IPV4 came out, a picture did get released of a meltdown of this device, and they claimed that juice had leaked into this charging port and caused a failure. I don't know about that. I will refer you to Matt Cully with Suck My Mod. Great guy, great reviewer. Vanessa as well, just great folks and very thorough, detailed reviewers. Please go to him. I'm pretty sure on his channel he addressed that and dug a little deeper into it. So please go check out his IPv4 information or reach out to them if you've got specific questions. But I just wanted to add that in here. The cable that's included with the IPv4, as far as I'm concerned, is a data cable and a data cable only. Now, I want to mention when I opened my device, I read my instruction manual like a good vapor, and it told me that I needed to update the software, the firmware. It told me that I needed to update this device to utilize the temperature control feature. Well, I believed it. So I grabbed the laptop, I downloaded the new Yeehee software, and about halfway through, decided that I was going to fire this device up and make sure. I didn't need to update anything. It was ready to go out of the box. Maybe I'm an idiot, but that's just, if you read through your manual, that could be confusing. So, out of the box, I gotta tell you, the device feels extremely cheap to me. Just does. Not a bad look. It's a little wide, but it's slim at the same time. I just don't like the way this black portion feels. And that is actually the battery compartment cover. So you can see this slides off. You load your two 18650s in there. And there you have it. So I'm not a fan of the feel overall of this device. But that's just me. Other issues right off the bat is, man, I can't read the screen. You know, if you're in any sunlight at all, it's almost impossible. It's even tough in a dark room or car. It lights up a little bit when you hit the fire button, so that helps. Before anybody knocks me or beats me up, I have seen people that have altered this screen and found a way to lighten it up so it's easier to read. I have zero interest in doing that. Not something I'm into. I can't read it. Chances are I'm not going to use it very often, and that's how I'll review it. I'm not going to go over the wattage mode. Just not. There's a ton of mods on the market. It goes up to 100 watts, which is, I think, a little too much for my vaping style. So we're not going to do that. So in the temperature control mode, you have to be in the joules setting. Okay? So instead of wattage, you are going to change the joules setting. And it goes up to 50 joules. If you want to know what joules are, again, I will refer you to Mr. Phil Basardo during his SX Mini M class review, he touches on some of that and he gets way more in depth than I ever will. So day-to-day use, you're going to get your nickel coil, your NI200 build in your atomizer, whether it's a dripper, a tank, a pre-built NI200 coil. You are going to install it at room temperature, not been used recently whatsoever. Install it cold or at room temperature. Got some in my eye. Make sure you are in joules mode. Now you will need to cycle through and set your temperature. Basically, you're going to set the highest temperature you want to reach, and the device should figure out internally the right power and keep you at about that temperature. So the idea is to get a very consistent vape without burning your wick or your juice. And then you are going to push down the up and down keys, at up and down buttons at the same time. The screen is going to read set resistance, and it's going to show the resistance of your coil at room temperature. Again, is very important. This is going to lock in that resistance. You remember how I told you that this temperature control technology was really just limiting the temperature and adjusting the wattage? Well, it does that by sensing the resistance of your coil. The hotter your coil gets when built with NI200 wire, the higher the resistance goes. So it's very important to set and lock in your resistance. Every time you put a new coil or a new tank, always reset it and always make sure that the coil is at room temperature before you set it, or you're going to have a bad time. So the device works really well with the Subtank, or probably other factory NI200 coils. It works fine on a dripper as well. I'm going to put on my Haze Mini, and I have got a nickel build in there. Going to set the resistance. Make sure lock your resistance in. It functions as it should with the dripper as well. So basically, the IPV4 is a affordable 100 watt / 50 joule temperature control device, right? It's affordable. It's not horrible looking. It doesn't feel terrible. It feels a little bit cheap to me, but that's okay because it is. I have seen these range from $70 to about $100. So I think that's a good range. For about $100, you get a 100-watt device with temperature control technology, dual 18650. That's my quick rundown of the IPV4. There are many other reviews. Matt Cully with Suck My Mod just released one. As I mentioned, Phil Basardo, I'm pretty sure he has released his IPV4 video as well. So, every reviewer has got their style, okay? When I get a device and there's already been information put out there, I'm not going to go back over everything. I'm going to do what I normally do, and hopefully for vapors that watch YouTube reviews, you can piece together everything you need from multiple different reviews / reviewers. That's the IPV4. If you have one, feel free to comment. Tell me your experience. Let me know what you think. So as for the Sick Vapor Company Kanger tank, this thing's really cool. It actually comes as a kit with a drip tip and a tank that matches. The drip tip is a little large for my taste, but you get the idea. You get a really cool setup. I've really enjoyed the tank. I think it's really cool looking. Um, and they make them for something like 10 different sub-ohm style tanks on the market these days. So make sure and check them out. I'll put this card, I'll flash it at the end of this video so you can see what all tanks they make these for. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.